Mlango Kubwa MCA's Matthew Musime, who was on Tuesday brutalized by police at the City Hall, has been admitted in hospital and her lawyers have confirmed. The MCA suffered bruises on her body resulting from being hit by police batons and being manhandled. Details of her condition were not shared. However, the legal team outlined that she is pursuing actions against the police officers who say they attacked her, or who she said attacked her. Now, joining us for more on this story is Irungu Houghton, Executive Director of Amnesty International in Kenya. Now, Irungu, I beg your pardon. Now, looking at this case so far so good, why did they pick the interest of Amnesty International, and what are they doing to actually push forward to ensure that this kind of brutalities do not actually happen, not just in Kenya alone, but in the entirety of Africa, where police brutality is very high?
So greetings to Aaron and Leila, and also to the people of Nigeria and everybody watching this from Nairobi, Kenya. As Amnesty International, we are a rule of law organization. We believe in the right to safety, dignity, and really freedom from any form of inhuman cruelty or violence. And this particular case was shocking, I think, at three levels. One is that it happened within a parliamentary precinct. It happened within our Nairobi County Assembly. Secondly, that it was led by very senior police officers. The four officers that you see there, one of them is a commissioner of police. That is a very senior rank within the police service. And thirdly, that it is, in a sense, indicative of some very worrying trends that we've seen over COVID-19. We've seen at least 22 deaths as a result of unlawful police killings during this period. And for the last, the last 10 years, something like the range of about 715 cases of unlawful killings or forced disappearances by the police. So as Amnesty International, we were moved to very quickly respond to this and to demand justice for Honorable Mudeo.
Thank you for that, Mr. Houghton. And honestly, it is a very worrying situation, both in Kenya, also here in Nigeria, continuous stories of police brutality, and it's a growing trend. How do you assess this trend? And what exactly is Amnesty International, alongside, of course, the Police Reforms Working Group that I believe is a coalition, what exactly are you calling for at this point in time?
So I think the law is very clear what happens at a point like this. It's not a matter of option either by the Minister of Interior or by the Inspector General. Honorable Mudeo was brutalized, she was assaulted, and our Constitution and police standing orders do not permit this. And therefore, the course of law is very simple, that they be interdicted or they be dismissed, but the course that are really arrest on assault charges should follow very quickly. Fortunately, we have heard from the Director of Public Prosecutions that he has requested an investigation from our Independent Policing Oversight Authority, and we are looking forward to seeing what action is taken in the next few hours or in the next few days. I should mention that this, sadly, is happening all over the world, and I think the need for distance-conscious and human rights policing in the time of a pandemic is extremely important. Not just for Kenya, but for all countries where you have a very fearful and anxious population who may be going through curfew and at the same time are very worried that the police will brutalize them for either an infraction of a public health guideline or whether it is purely to extort money from them.
And Irungu, I want to find out from you concerning, you've just mentioned something very key, which is the fact that it's actually prevalent around the world in terms of police brutality, like we've even seen playing out in the US as we still speak. But now, looking at it closely, all the reforms that the Amnesty International are pushing for, are they yielding any kind of dividends, or are we hoping it will still get better?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are 2 points to this. One is that we must never normalize brutality, whether it comes from a civilian or an officer in uniform. The second thing, so we must never adjust ourselves to that this is the way that things are, because that essentially would be to send our country to doom, if not to send other countries to doom. The second point is that we have seen some changes. We have been very active during these last 3 months. We submitted a set of policy recommendations, guidelines on how police officers should manage public order and public spaces. We have seen very quick action taken in the case of Yasin Moyo, a 13-year-old boy who was shot on his balcony back in May. Within 6 weeks, we were able to put, or rather the police were able to put into a court of law the officer who is charged with his death. Now, the thing we have to really focus on is that timing is decisive. It is extremely important that the investigative, the prosecution arms, and the judiciary work closely to ensure that justice is done not in 3 to 4 years, which has been the case historically, but really in under 2 years, so that the victims' families can get a sense of peace and a sense of justice. And I think that's what we have been pushing for. We have managed to get a number of cases to go to court. We continue to have good relationships with the Inspector General and with the Ministry of Interior to ensure that they are following the rule of law contained within our Constitution, and that everybody, including criminals, have the right to life under our Constitution and our Bill of Rights.
You're absolutely right about that point, Mr. Houghton, that timing is so decisive in cases like this. And that leads me to ask you, what response have we seen from the Kenyan Parliament? I mean, this took place, I believe, on their grounds.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the Nigerian context, this would be a state. So it's not our federal parliament, if I use Nigerian language. This is essentially one of our counties, we call them. So it's a county assembly. It is a democratic institution. There are 85 or more councillors, I guess, as we used to call them. And it is in the slap in the middle of the capital of Nairobi. So in many ways, this was an extremely high-profile act of violence. But I think we need to make a bigger point, which is that, you know, there is a reason why women are underrepresented in our political life, that they are, you know, less than 5% of the presidents in the world. And that is because, you know, politically, it is very difficult and very risky for women to go into politics. And, you know, I looked at the statistics this morning and I was really shocked to see that something like 26% of our women parliamentarians globally have experienced, very directly have experienced violence, or that 46% of our parliamentarians actually fear for their own security while discharging their role of representation. So this act is not just an act against Honorable Modeo or the women of Kenya. Really, it is an act against the political rights of all women to seek political office and to represent their counties or their states or their countries.
Our many thanks to you, Irungu Houghton, talking about the Executive Director of Amnesty International in Kenya. Please keep the good work going on.